Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. I hope you're enjoying your time off. I hope you're enjoying this wonderful Christmas time. Hope you're having a blast. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about this side of the workshop. And what is in this side of the workshop? It is my machining equipment. It is my welding equipment. It's some tool storage. It's some other fun things that are here. So thanks for joining me. Let's get started right here with the mill. Now, the mill was my introduction to machining. Fun story. You see a lot of me now trying things and failing at things and trying to learn through the failure and through the attempt at avoiding a failure, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. I love the trial and error. It's a very exciting way of doing it, and I've been doing that for a while, and in fact, last year, when on the whim, I won an eBay auction for this Bridgeport mill. That was one of the first times on this channel you really started to see me getting into that, because prior to having this mill, I had never done any machining. I'd seen some people do a little bit of machining here and there, but I'd never done any myself, and I had absolutely no place to start. So it was from watching YouTube videos from this old Tony, reading stuff online and trying to watch as many YouTube videos as I could full stop, that I started to get a little bit of an understanding about how to use a mill. And then, of course, really what it was is me trying to mill stuff full stop, which was very fun, very difficult, expensive because I broke a lot of tooling, but lots of fun. As I said, I bought this. The truth of how I purchased this, pretty embarrassing actually, because last minute or so of an eBay auction, I had watched the thing and I got the notification, a few minutes earlier that it was about to end, and I had a look at it and I go to myself, I wonder how much this mill is going to go for. A sensible person would then let the mill finish its auction and go, oh, it went for XYZ. No, me not being a sensible person, I decided to place a bid, see if I was the winning bidder. I was the winning bidder, then somebody outbid me, and let me tell you something, you don't outbid me. So I then placed another bid, and then I won the thing for £2,050, £2,100. Is that the best deal in the world for a Bridgeport mill? It's probably not the best deal in the world, considering this one certainly has been through, it's been through war a little bit. You know, people have milled into the table here and there. The guides have a decent bit of wear to them. It's not the best thing in the world, but it does have a slotting head attachment on the back. Oh, I don't think you guys have seen that. And you switch it on, and obviously this needs some oil. It doesn't sound very good, but it will slot and cut keyways. So say you'd have like a pulley mounted in there, you'd flip it around and you could slot and cut a keyway. So it has that attachment. £2,100, it's maybe $3,000 or so. Is it the best deal in the world? I don't know. It was certainly a stupid purchase. It was certainly something I regretted a lot at the time, but now I am so thrilled that I made the purchase because I use this so often. It is just fabulous to have a mill in a blacksmith workshop, especially with making knives and swords and stuff like that, which it is that I'm now doing. It is lovely, 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 lovely to have one of these. Love it. Fantastic purchase. Once I purchased the mill, I said to myself, well, gee whiz, if I've got a mill, I should probably have a lathe. Stupid purchase number 2. Here we go. Found this on eBay. This one I feel like I got a fantastic deal on, £1,200. This stuff, it's inexpensive. You get lucky looking at the eBay auctions, you find stuff, and really for what it is that you can do with it, I'd say it's largely inexpensive. This is a beautiful old bit of equipment. It's a Colchester student lathe. It's got 2 speeds, and of course it's all gear controlled, so you adjust the speeds and what have you. I'm able to cut threads with it, with this incredible thread cutting attachment here. It's called an ingest thread cutting attachment. Most of the time when you cut threads on a lathe, you have to throw a handle at just a very specific point, then you have to shut off the lathe, and then you have to put it back and then start again so you don't get the gears and the screw out of whack, and make sure that your threads are cutting in the same place. With this thread cutting attachment here instead, you adjust for what thread sizes it is that you want, or the thread, whatchamawhat's it, the doodah. And then all you do is you hold onto this thing, and when you feel it open up, there we go, and then the carriage will start moving, and it's all great. And the best thing about this is you do your thread cut, so this will follow along and cut the thread that you need. You ease off, you go back to the beginning, you hold on to it, and it doesn't matter where it is that you go with your carriage. So long as you hold on to this, you wait for it to drop. There we go, it drops, it cuts again, and you perfectly match up the thread. So all of this, it meant that it was a really great package, and the guy that I bought it off was just lovely. He helped me deliver it and get it into the workshop over at Barker Street. He even gave me some great pointers about this and helped me get it off a pallet truck, which is fantastic. wonderful people are everywhere. Thank you for being wonderful people, wonderful people. And so with this stuff, it meant that I was able to machine stuff, and I'm very grateful about that. You know, this is, to a certain degree, a relatively entry-level machine. You know, it's old, it's been used, but I'm very, very pleased with the purchase, and it's been a wonderful thing, again, with the lathe. Trying to learn how to do that, and that, again, has been a function of YouTube videos, but a lot of trial and error, a lot of making mistakes, lots of broken tools, but that's just part of the fun, and it's part of the fun of playing with this type of gear. Over here, of course, we have this. This is the table that I use for welding. This is, in fact, a table that was used with some drills on it. So it would have had a few drilling stations on it that would have been bolted into the T-slots here, most likely. Or actually, maybe up here. Not sure, but either way, this is a flat surface, pretty damn flat surface, very heavy cast iron table. Not the best welding table in the world, because you can't get clamps underneath it. So you'll see me having this piece of plate here, and I tend to do my welding on the piece of plate that's mounted in here via T-slots. It's nice, it's solid, sturdy, I have a flat surface. Got my welder up here. This is a TIG welder from Lincoln Electric that they very kindly sent me. A TIG welder 220 TPX. Good bit of kit. We also got a MIG down there, Speed Tech 215C. Good pieces of kit. Can't fault them at all. Lovely to use. And very kind of Lincoln Electric, of course. For the MIG welder, I'm running a mix of CO2 and argon. 20% CO2, and I believe the rest is argon. Pure argon down there for the TIG welder. And of course, I got a Lincoln Electric hood here. This is a Viking hood. This is lovely. And then I've also got the Speedglass 3M hood that I plug into that air-powered respirator that you see me grinding with over there. Onto other equipment in this side of the workshop. This is really a bad place for this to be because it doesn't go well with the other equipment here, but this is where it is, and it's not bolted down, so it's horribly dangerous. I mean, this is probably right now one of the most dangerous things in the workshop. This is just such poor form, but we can still talk about how cool it is in one respect, which is one of my first lathe turning projects was making this here watchmadoodah that allows me to attach these here watch-my-what's-it wheels. Now, these wheels are for a PTX machine, which I believe it's like a slow-turning angle grinder, and so you hold on to it, and this thing comes out of the side, and you're able to polish sheet metal with it. Well, this, it's like a Scotch-Brite, same Scotch-Brite material that you'll scrub your dishes with, is just lovely for doing a fine polish on steel, and on this, it is just fantastic. I started using it when I was making hammer faces, or when I was making hammers, which would involve making hammer faces, and I love it. You can get different grits, so you can do a fine or a more aggressive satin finish on it, and it's just lovely. Love having it on there. Arbor, that's what it's called, not a watch-my-what's-it, an arbor. Over here, now this is often referred to the same way this is referred to as Scotch-Brite. It's like a rubberized unitizing wheel. They'll often call it a deburring wheel, and this is very lovely too. It's got a little bit of give to it, which is just fantastic. It's not very aggressive. It's more aggressive than this in terms of surface removal, and it'll leave a little bit of a shinier finish, but this is nice. If there's ever like a scratch that I want to remove out of something, I can hit it heavy here on the unitizing wheel, and it'll be aggressive enough to get past the scratch and leave a nice finish beneath it. Overall, that's a good bit of gear to have. This is on a bench grinder that I borrowed from my father when I very first started my exploits in metalworking. I've clearly done a very good job of getting that borrowed item back to him in due course, haven't I? Sorry. So over here, of course, we got a tool cabinet. Now, holy moly, are tool cabinets expensive. I was petrified the first time I got a tool cabinet because these things are not cheap. Like, you wouldn't think in your mind that these things would be that expensive. They are. I got the cheapest ones, and thankfully I got lucky that they really weren't that bad. But having a tool cabinet is really, really lovely. I got all this space up here. I use degreaser a lot. When you see my black WD-40, this is degreaser. I use this a lot, and I love it because oil is great, but it's also sometimes really bad. It's fantastic to have degreaser handy for when you need to clean stuff. Of course, I got my blue Dicom. Are those shirts still available? Yeah, I think they are. AlecSteelShop.com. We got our super glue, a little bit of WD-40. However, it's pretty silly to buy it in the cans like this because then this gets really expensive. I highly recommend you get it in a big thing like this and then you fill up a little spray bottle with it. WD-40 is great also. It's not a lubricant. If I need to lubricate something, I'd much rather use this or, some like 30 weight oil, something like that, which I keep in a can up here, which I'll use to lubricate my Bridgeport mill, lubricate other things that need lubricating. I certainly used to think that WD-40 was lubricant. It isn't. It's good for some things though. I also have a golf putter up here in case I ever want a spot of golf without a handle. Nail varnish, very useful for the machinist tool chest. A load of bits in a mess. This really should be a lot neater. Lots of tape measures, which I never know where they are, but apparently they're here today. And of course electrical tape, in case I open up my fingers I need to tape them up. Keep a carbide scribe here, which is just fantastic having a scribe. And I keep the drill bits that I'm willing to break and mess up here in front of my hole finders, hole center punch finders that are here. That's a really nifty set of tools to have when it's complete especially. You also see me using latex gloves a hell of a lot. Big fan of the latex gloves. In fact, these are nitrile gloves. Big fan of the nitrile gloves. Every time I'm doing a serious amount of grinding, what I'll go ahead and do is I'll throw on a pair of nitrile gloves underneath a pair of these cut-resistant, pretty abrasion-resistant, rubber-coated gloves here. Holy moly.
I was just going to say, they're not very cut resistant.
They don't look very cut resistant here. But that ensemble makes for a really nice way to grind because these are thin enough that you have enough dexterity. They're thin enough that they're not likely to get caught. Again, you do this like make your own mind up as to whether you think it's safe enough to grind with a pair of gloves. Because of course, using gloves with any of this stuff is like a big no-no. That's a great way to lose a finger or lose a hand. If you're lucky, just lose the skin that surrounds the finger. Don't Google degloving. Latex gloves, obviously very useful when I make a lot of Damascus steel because I'm in the acid and stuff like that. So it's handy to be able to have this in the workshop and, obviously protecting your hands is important because when you don't have your hands, you can't really do any work. Aside from that, up here on top, I have a trauma kit, which is helpful, and that's so that hopefully in any circumstance where you would die before an ambulance gets there, hopefully, you'd be able to solve that circumstance. At least not solve it, but let you not die before the ambulance gets there. So of course, up here we got kind of screwdrivers and pens and what have you. Allen, holy moly, that's a lot of Allen keys. Allen! Allen! Over here, I've got the majority of my end mills. Okay, this drawer has gotten closed a little too fast in previous times there. Obviously, I want to be a little bit ginger with all of this stuff so I don't break any of it. Use a lot of carbide end mills, and I have a few high-speed steel end mills, but I have a preference towards using the carbide, even though, obviously, when you snap a carbide end mill, it really, really stings. In fact, when you snap a carbide end mill, you can feel your wallet going, wow, out of your back pocket. It stings when you break a carbide end mill, but it's nice because I'm making a lot of Damascus items. That Damascus can be pretty tough, and cutting through it with the carbide is very handy, and it saves me a little bit of time, and it's just a joy to work with good tools. I really like working with good tools, and it always makes the work a lot more enjoyable. Over here, I have some spare inserts for my lathe tooling, as well as spare inserts for this cheap carbide indexable face mill. This is one of my favorite tools for the milling machine, and I tell you what, these cheap little inserts there, I think I have, in a year of owning this mill, yes. When I bought this face mill, it came with 4 inserts, and then I bought a spare pack. See how many of the spare pack are out of there. In a year of using this thing heavily with the Damascus steel, making sparks. When everybody says that it shouldn't make sparks because you're going to break your inserts, the inserts are still fine. I've still got at least like 1 edge on them. It's amazing, amazing, amazing what that can do in terms of hogging off material. Those face mills are some crazy good stuff. I've got some thread cutting tools here that I very rarely use for the lathe, internal, external, as well as some as well as some of these things, which obviously I don't know how to use. Moving on down, I got some measuring equipment and a couple woodworking tools. This shouldn't be in there. This should be in there. In the bottom, got some drills for my lathe, for my mill if I need them. I've got some short parallels. When I bought these, I thought they'd be like 6 inches long. I guess I didn't look at the measurements, but it's all right because I've been too lazy to get any more. And so I've actually done pretty well with them. 1, 2, 3 blocks, V blocks. All of this stuff is useful for the mill. Files down here. As we move down, of course, got my handy little ratchet here and a set of sockets. I've got Imperial on the left, metric on the right. Probably the least well-equipped blacksmith shop when it comes to this kind of stuff. I know most of your guys' home garages or garages, however it is you want to say it, most of your home garages probably have like 10 times as many wrenches and what have you than I have. Oh well, that's what it is. Down below, I've got my tapping equipment. Oh my goodness, I was so thrilled. I remember when I bought this, I think I must have been 13 or 14 years old, absolutely petrified about how expensive a tap and die set was gonna be, and I was looking on eBay and I found this set brand new, and I think the thing retailed for like £250. I found this thing for £50 when I won the auction. I was just so thrilled, and so this has been very handy because it's good quality equipment. I think these are made by Kennedy, and in fact I use their drills over here. But a good quality tap and die set is essential, and then of course whenever you break something you can just replace it and add into the set. However, I don't think I've ever broken anything from this tap and die set, which is a good call. Over here, in this drill set here, I have all my weird sizes of drills. This has been a useful set to have, even though this is cheap, potentially even because it was cheap. This was a relatively cheap set for the amount of drills, but it means that kind of no matter what, I'll be able to have a drill that's gonna work for the size of hole that I need. Everything from 40 thousandths all the way up to 228 thousandths, well, you got it covered, as well as the things that are a little bit larger than that down there in the imperial sizes and in the letter sizes. Going down below, I've got some other kind of bits and bobs, my vice grips, my hacksaw, and a little bit of a smaller socket set, which I finally got around to getting a little while ago, and this is not cocaine. This is flux. It's flux. We got my reserves of Sharpies right here, some drill bits, and this is obviously where it starts just becoming more chaotic in this tool chest, and I'm not using the space well enough, because really it's a whole lot of nothing that I could condense and be more organized with, but that's what it is. Of course, over here, as we get outside of the tool chest, I've got my wet and dry sandpaper. I'm very pleased to have bought the good quality stuff, because then when you're sanding, you're saving time. There's nothing as unenjoyable in the workshop as hand sanding. Sorry to say it, there is stuff that is unenjoyable in the world of blacksmithing and knife making, and this is some of it. So when you buy the best quality stuff and you treat it like it's the cheapest stuff, i.e. you use it and then you get rid of it and start with a new piece as often as possible, it really makes the time fly. What a lie. Hand sanding never flies. It never flies, but it's better that it takes a little bit less time. Of course, I got a granite surface plate here. This is one of the first things. A friend of mine, Navar, who's a fantastic knife maker in Australia, I was asking him, hey, what would be some good tools for me to get if I want to get into knife making way back a year and a bit ago? And he said one of the first things I should be looking into was a granite surface plate and a height gauge. Here I got an electronic height gauge, and I really do like this. You know, whenever I want to be precise, whenever I want to scribe stuff, it has a carbide tip here, which means that you can be scribing lines and things. Really, really useful. Highly recommend having something like that. If you ever need to do anything that's precise, or do precise measurements or scribe or whatever, granite surface plate and a watch and Medulla or a height gauge, very, very useful. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that your stockings have been filled with coal. I hope that you're having a wonderful time, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. We build things, we make things, we have some fun, we show you the failures and hopefully show you the successes, but most of all, it is a lot of fun to try. I'm looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.